I am now live. All right. It has been a long time since we've done this not streaming through Zoom. Yeah, hey, welcome. I'm glad I actually got it to work. Um, I just got back from the conference and I see that I'm like super sweaty looking from running in. Um, yeah, great conference I was at today. So just wanted to give you guys a rundown. Now I was gonna do this live from there and interview a few people. I saw a bunch of people that we know that are from here in Fearless. So there was let me see, Zoria Belanger, there was Remy Noel, there was Pierre Paul Turgeon, there was Joel Labonte. Now I recognized his face and his name. There was Cindy Dooley. Yeah, I lots of people. So welcome guys. I am really happy to be home. I was gonna do it live from there, but then I was like, you know what, I'm too tired, my brain is too dead. I probably need to have a little rest. So that didn't happen because of traffic, but hey, here I am. So welcome everybody. Say hello when you jump on. I'm not sure if I'm going to be seeing comments tonight. It's been a long time since I've done it this way. But you know what? Today's conference was really good. So it was the Western Canadian Apartment Investment Conference. So everyone from lenders, so like Greenbirch and MCAP and CMHC was the huge sponsor. They had a lot to say. Boardwalk, REIT. There was just a lot of huge players. I love it when I'm the smallest one in the room, when I'm the dumbest one in the room. I truly love it. But there was like so much information there today. So hey, just let me know if I'm on. If you guys will let me know. Let me know if I am on. I'm just looking at my texts because I don't see anything. Oh, I do. So I do. I see us in the feed. Okay, yay. Okay, so um awesome information. A couple of things. When we're talking about credibility and we're talking about raising capital, when we're talking about talking to lenders, when we're talking about, talking to our tenants, even credibility is a huge thing. And I was reminded of that today because when we go in to talking to people about real estate, we need to be the expert. So, we've talked before about how you have to, if you have a friend who's a plumber, who's the first person you call when you get, a plugged sink that's not clearing easily? You call that person for advice because they're like your expert in plumbing friend. Well, we want to become the expert in real estate friend to everyone in our circle so that when they have a real estate problem, we're the first ones that they call, right? So today was really a good reminder about how when we're up to date on what's going on in all segments, but especially in the segment that we're in, um, we really add to credibility. And we've got a special event coming up about credibility here in Fearless. So keep your that was probably a little bit of too much of a spoiler alert, but keep your ears tuned up. You should be seeing a lot of information, little teasers, emails, posts, that sort of thing. So today, you know what? I want to run down some of the things. So it was the Western Canadian Conference, right? Certainly there's other parts of this country, but of course they talked a lot about BC and Ontario. Everything's relative in real estate, right? It's all about, comparing it to other areas, whether it's a neighborhood, a city, or a region, a province, whatever it might be. But I appreciated that they had a couple of panels. One of them, for example, said like, hey, we're going to ask you a question. You tell us how each province stacks up in this department. So it was really cool too to see that all these industry experts, and I mean, when they're talking about, saying, oh, we got to stay small in our projects right now, like really we're talking about, what's the perfect size project right now? And they say, oh, no more than 100 doors, 120 doors. You know, then we're talking about some pretty big players here, right? So when that is their smallest, we know that we probably should listen. So yeah, started off the day with a recap from ATB. Let me see here. There we go. Hey, There. Okay, I see Trevor. Awesome. From Ottawa. Mike, Ontario. Sean and Andrea, Ontario. Mike, another Mike from this on Ottawa, Ontario. So yeah, hey guys, perfect, sweet. George, farther out. So this is funny that it's all Eastern people that are on, but yet here it's this Western conference. So basically talking about Alberta, BC, Ontario, and a little shocker one in there, although it's not really a shocker, but was really good to hear the absolute clarity coming for that one. So interesting stat, listen to this. By 2038, Alberta, so this came from the ATB, so Alberta Treasury Branch's lead economist, okay? By 2038, Alberta should overtake BC population-wise. Not in a certain age bracket that we've done, a few times over the years, but in general, Alberta, our population will be bigger than that of BC by 2038. That is what the projections are saying. Kind of crazy, right? Like that's huge. So let's start our discussion there. They were talking about a few nuances that we don't necessarily keep up with and we don't keep track of. And we've heard them talked about as like shadow markets or shadow indicators, shadow nuances. So here's the ones that they're saying are really actually going to affect Western Canada. Okay. And I will say they talked a ton about Toronto. I think I've already mentioned that a couple times, but interestingly, the kids living at home, if and when they get sick of it, like adult kids between the ages of 25 to 39 that are living at home, these adult kids, if and when they get sick of it, there's a whole whack load. In Vancouver it's 20%, in Toronto it's 26%, in Edmonton and Calgary it's 12.5% in each city of the population is living at home with their parents. If and when that population decides to shift, if their overall sentiment becomes like I can't do this anymore, or it's no longer cool or socially acceptable to do it, we could very well see an influx even just from that. So that's why it's called a shadow. It's like it may or may not affect things. It kind of moves with the tide, but it could very well, like it can grow, right? All right. So in order to hit the affordability that we want to hit in Canada, we would need to have, it's amazing. We need to double our housing starts by 2035 just to bring our affordability on a national level to 30%. So crazy, right? Your topic of late. Hey, Sarah. Okay, so it was talking about how in Alberta, our population has gone up and down in big waves. Okay, big. In Alberta, we do things big. We're kind of like Texas, right? So up and down in big waves over the last 30 years, 6 times. This time, though, they say we are getting that same influx of population we were, right? Slow down now, we know that. And it's inter-provincial migration, so it's from other provinces, not from outside of Canada. It is not immigration, it's inter-provincial migration. And we are getting that. I thought it was super interesting that it was no, yeah. It's different this time. It's totally, I lost my train of thought right there. Sheesh. See, this is why I came home from the event instead of doing live interviews. So it's talking about how this is different this time because it is not oil and gas driven. People are not coming here for jobs in oil and gas. They are literally coming here for the affordability. So whether or not they make more or less, or we make more or less, our wages are starting to even out. Our resources are no longer driving our economy. And so for the first time in 30 years, we're having a population increase, an influx that is not resource driven. I thought that was a really cool point. Okay, and interestingly, all age categories are set to grow, which in Alberta, that has not been the case. Generally speaking, our older ones retire somewhere else. Lucky them. And it's young families that move here. So they gave a number of reasons, statistically or whatever, economics wise, why that's happening. But interestingly, all age groups are moving it into Alberta in the next 30 or in the next, just wait, I'm going to be accurate. In the next 10 years, in the next 10 years. So huge changes. Okay, so if Alberta's population is going to be bigger than BC's in the next 10 years, and it's going to be all age groups. What's really interesting that came out of today's discussion, I thought, was, and again, just for those hopping on, I was at the Western Canadian Apartment Investment Conference today. So much good economic data. I love economics, as you guys know, but so much good stuff. But interestingly, what came out of that is that senior housing is becoming a huge thing. Interesting little tidbit from one of the largest senior housing providers. Just by designating an apartment building, this is largely apartment buildings, right? Yes, there's 10 plexes, let's say 8 plexes, whatever, but this is largely apartment buildings. Just by designating your apartment building 55 plus, you will automatically get more than $150 per door in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Really neat, right? Just by saying 55 plus. So they're definitely recognizing there's a lot of discussion about the different types of senior homes. There's 7 different types of senior investments, multifamily investment. But certainly that was kind of a big eye opener for me that they talked about that. So pretty cute. Yeah, right, Andreas? Super huge. So hey, Robin, nice to see you. You have 2 demographic people in your, yeah, because you have, right, you've got that kids living at home. Who knows when they're going to be able to move out, right, Mike? Totally makes sense. So, okay. Hey, Janie, nice to see you. Okay. Hello, Sean. My friend Sean from, where is it? Port Moody? Yeah, Port Moody. Yeah. Seaside community. Now you're bragging. Okay. So again, talking about this development, talking about how the tide has changed. It used to be that we do mixed use developments. In Alberta, we would do, studios, 1s, 2s, not a whole lot of 3 bedrooms. Now they're saying absolutely, in our conversions and in our new developments, where we are really needing to see 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms even. A lot of the new developments that a lot of the big players that were up there were saying are not even doing studios anymore. So that I thought that was really interesting. Though they did say it's a lot more expensive to do 2, 3 bedrooms. And so it's a little harder. Overall, the overall sentiment was that multifamily investing is super hard right now, harder than they've ever seen. Some of them said, some of them were around 45 years, some around 40, 30, a ton around 20. And so, yeah, they're really talking about how it's super tight, super hard, and what can we do about it? So what can we do? Let me see. So a couple of things. CMHC's product specialist, her name is Patricia Rosette Zuppa. She is the VP of multi-unit at CMHC. She was talking about equity, loan guarantees, financing partnerships, all these things that are now coming out under this Build Canada Homes, and how all of these CMHC kind of stays like within lanes, right? They're very kind of structured. But she said this other Crown Corp that's coming along, which we've heard about this, right? Build Canada Homes is going to be a whole lot more flexible, open, and like she said, talking about like they might be interested in equity and taking equity instead. They might just guarantee your loans for you. They will be doing financing as well, but they may even partner. So it was really interesting to hear like how some of the stacking of all the different, grants, affordability, benefits, and all the points and all the different things that you're getting, that you could get, all of those things being stacked up, partnerships with government, partnerships with nonprofits, all these different things. A lot of these organizations are kind of going on the vertical and using a lot of these all in one project. So they're saying that really they're seeing the need for that like never before, because everything is so tight in multifamily. So they were Western Canada. So again, BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. But they talked a lot about Toronto as well. Okay. Any questions? If I'm going too fast, then just let me know. More support for developers, yes. And they're talking about how some, like Boardwalk was there, for example. And Rohit was there, like all these huge names, and they're all talking about how they just in the last 2 years have completely had to change their business into not just development, but customer service, retention, just really change from acquisitions and dispositions to really being of service and really honing in on the operating side of things. So yeah, that was pretty cool. So what's working for developers, though they're saying right now in most markets, especially Vancouver, they're saying it's a great opportunity to get in right about now, right? Be fearful when others are greedy, greedy when others are fearful, right? We know there's a lot of fear. We know things have dropped. That's the time to get in, although that's the hardest time to get in because everyone's scared. But a lot of talk about how it's even. So whether we do a new build development or buy existing and fix up, they're saying all of the numbers are actually coming in quite even in all of these big pro formas. They mentioned too, like if you're smaller, like us little moms and paws, they said all of this is applying, just take off a 0 or 2, but really all of the stuff in behind it all applies. So in Vancouver area, for example, they're saying, yeah, like there's some great opportunities. Now would be a good time to start looking in there. However, you really need to tighten up operations for the first time in Vancouver in a very long time. And that was also a theme throughout the day, was about tightening up operations. So economies of scale. So really honing down on your, vendors lists, your, like things like appliances even, or whatever, thermostats, that sort of thing. Like, where do you get them? Are you using economy of scale? Are you using like wholesome mentality? Let me see. A lot of people are breaking up larger projects. So for example, the one said, when they planned on this 800 unit project, they planned to do it all at once. And now they're definitely, the final verdict is that they are breaking it into 4 stages so that they can deal with the absorption as it goes and not have so much vacancy and so much lease up time and so much lease up cost then, right? So, hey, Tina. We were talking about your place today, actually. It was kind of cool. Hey, Tyson. Okay, so speaking of Edmonton, Tyson, and smaller multis, yeah, like everyone was talking Edmonton. It was every economist, every lender. So whether it was Green Birch or any of the lenders, I do have them written down on that page. Let me just find it. They were all just completely talking about, yeah, this is Edmonton, Edmonton, Edmonton. So the question was asked on 2 different panels. If you were to put your money anywhere right now, where would it be? And everyone came back with Edmonton, but there was a nice surprise, not really a surprise, but Saskatoon was mentioned a whole time. So I know Angie's happy to hear that. What I thought was really interesting too is they talked about how, we always want to look for the same, government employees, of course, is fantastic. So that's why Ottawa or, any capital city, right? Victoria, whatever, Edmonton, anywhere where there's some government employees, that's always a good thing. Military is always a good thing. University is always a good thing. But what they also mentioned was that Saskatoon has more of the white collar, which is really similar to Calgary, versus Edmonton being blue collar. So trades and that sort of thing. And so that gives a differentiation as well in the market. So I thought that was kind of interesting. All right. Yep. Saskatoon. It's about even whether you develop from scratch or renovate in most markets or like build or buy and, fit out and push up kind of thing. Yeah, that's what most of them were saying in their portfolios. Again, larger portfolios, but yeah. So this is the Western Canadian Apartment Investment Conference. Okay, so here's some highlights. Talking about how Saskatoon and Edmonton, Boardwalk REIT was saying it's one of the only places where you can consistently get under 200,000 per door with a decent lease up, time period, vacancy rates, incomes, affordability, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, really, really interesting stuff. Okay, so kind of going back, let's talk about this senior housing bit. So really crazy. Listen to some of these numbers. Okay, where is it? Hang on now. So this year was the first cohort of baby boomers to turn 80. There are 19 more years to go. So this was the first cohort, was this year that they turned 80. Now, 80 is what they consider kind of a magic number where things start to switch quickly, moving into, either downsizing, assisted living, even just adult plus living, active adult living, all these different things. So 80, we know, has always been kind of that benchmark that they watch. And this, again, is the first cohort this year of them turning 80 of the baby boomers. And of course, that, we remember the funnel of the population explosion, baby boomers being at the top of it. So there's 19 more years to go of this mass part of that funnel that is now moved into that 80-ish age bracket. So, yeah, they're talking about all the different avenues of senior housing and how really it is and many of them said this, it seems to be the opportunity to jump on of any other opportunity that there are right now, where you are able to build on, like you still do, it's still multifamily investing, you still, or apartment investing, whatever you want to call it, you still then, though, have a lead up, a little bit of an edge. And we do have someone coming on to Tactical Tuesday to talk to us about how to deal with seniors that are transitioning into some sort of a home and helping them to, in a good human way, dispose of their stuff easily, take their problems away from them, and help them out, and putting a system behind that as an avenue for finding deals. So I thought that was really interesting. All right, let me see. Boom, baby. All right, so also big thing in senior housing is the capacity was always there, that people needed it, but they were willing to do a nursing home because that was your only option. So by the time people fought it and fought it and fought it and fought it, leaving their home, their, neighborhood, all the things that they've known for 40 years, they, for one, weren't willing to do that at all. But now, of course, they're getting to the age the choice is kind of leaving. And so now they're saying that that there's a willingness to go, but the willingness is based on lifestyle. So they, now they understand, like, they're lonely. So one of the things, where does it say it? I wrote it down exactly because I just thought it was such an interesting way of saying it. But he basically said, you are not, if you're in you are not in a housing business. If you're in senior housing, senior investing, you're in the loneliness business. So, you have to remember that that's part of why there's the capacity, they need it, but now there's also a willingness to go because people are realizing that they're lonely and their kids are further away and moved out, further across the country, different parts of the world, and they need that touch base for community and that connection. So yeah, really interesting little things like putting just, bench areas for people to get together, a nice foyer, a nice meeting area. You don't even have to service it, but just by doing those little touches, as well as designating your building 55 plus, you get some $150 more per door. Oh my goodness, Tactical Tuesday is over. This is insane. Hello. Lots of those existing in Newfoundland, right, Sarah? For sure. It has been a while. You have a 75-year-old woman who just lost her husband moving into your Lake Country carriage house. And it makes you happy, right? So I found this model that I'm gonna take the is it a course? I don't know. I'm going to take the training first, and then I'm going to bring it to Fearless as a model where we can, good human, help all these older ones, which is really interesting that, of course, this now fits in perfectly. All right. Okay. I do have more. They're talking about modular home construction, how by the time you place it and get it there, every single one of them said, and these are all the panels said, nope, just do stick builds. It was really interesting to hear all these things. Okay. Last thing I'm going to say is that they're saying in our communities, in our buildings, what we have to be doing right now is creating community. And Ignited, you can jump on into Zoom. We're not in Zoom right now, but here, I'm going to open it right now so that you can jump in there, and we're going to wrap up, and I will jump over there and continue the discussion. Fearless, thank you for joining us. We will be bringing all of this senior housing stuff to you, but wanted to update you on what happened at the conference today. But I'm going to finish with this one last thing. No, sorry, two things. That if, okay, so 30% of people renew in an apartment building, 30%. I didn't realize the turnover was that high, but they said in general across Canada, if we take a cross country number, we're going to look at 30%. Now, if they have 1 to 3 connections within the building, like personal connections, friends, then that jumps to 40% will renew. And if they have 7 or more connections, that number jumps to 50%, which is, they are now saying a measurable line item that should be included in everything is community building as part of your marketing, because that is actually making a massive difference to the bottom line with, you know, retention, turnover, capital expenses on turnover, vacancy, all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was super, super cool. So, all right. I had more to share, and I did jump on a little late. I know that my computer shut down on me, like literally as I was jumping on. So, yeah, really great stuff. I will share an AI recap of my notes for it and the into Fearless, okay, because I didn't get through all of them. Really cool section was contrarian thoughts. What's one thing that you think differently than most people do? It was pretty cool. So anyways, jump into Zoom, guys. Ignited, I will see you over there, and also save the date. May 23rd, 24th. We've got a special event coming up, so save the date. And I don't know. I just got this whole thing planned out. She said, you're not allowed to say what it is yet. But it's pretty cool, and it's an offer we've never made before that is really going to help tons and tons of people, and I'm really excited for it. So yeah, no problem, Sean and JD and everybody else. We will see you soon, and I'll see you guys right over in Laser right now. Cheers, everyone.